He was the most valuable employee in the company, but when the CEO made a risky decision, everything changed. Could he survive the gamble, or would the CEO lose his best asset forever? Every company has its unsung heroes, the employees who work behind the scenes, quietly driving success without seeking the spotlight. For Alex, a senior project manager at a rapidly growing tech company, his contributions were vital to the company's success. He was the one who stayed late to ensure everything was perfect, the one who always went the extra mile to make sure clients were happy, and the one who had an uncanny ability to solve problems that no one else could. Yet, despite his invaluable contributions, Alex's future at the company was uncertain. The CEO, Daniel, was a brilliant businessman, charismatic, strategic, and a visionary. But, like many great leaders, Daniel was also a risk-taker, and sometimes those risks paid off. Sometimes they didn't. One of his most recent decisions, however, would threaten everything he had built, including his relationship with Alex, his most trusted employee. The early years, a relationship built on trust. Alex had joined the company as a junior project manager, eager to prove himself. Over the years, he had quickly climbed the ranks, thanks to his work ethic, strategic thinking, and loyalty to the company. Daniel, who had been the CEO since the company's inception, had recognized Alex's potential early on. They shared a mutual respect for one another. Daniel admired Alex's commitment and intelligence, while Alex trusted Daniel's leadership and vision. They had worked side by side for years, building projects, securing clients, and pushing the company to new heights. Alex had always felt secure in his position, knowing that he was a key player in the company's success. Daniel often praised Alex's work, offering him more opportunities and bigger responsibilities. The bond between them wasn't just professional, it was personal. Alex viewed Daniel not just as a CEO, but as a mentor and a friend. But as the company continued to grow, the pressure on Daniel to make bold decisions increased. The business landscape was changing, and the stakes were higher than ever. Daniel's ambition to keep the company at the forefront of the industry led him to make a move that would shake the foundations of everything Alex thought he knew about loyalty, trust, and the value of hard work. It all started with a new business opportunity, a high-risk, high-reward venture that could potentially skyrocket the company to an entirely new level of success. The project was huge. It was risky. It required a massive investment of time, money, and resources. And most importantly, it required someone to take a bold, unwavering lead. Alex was the obvious choice to oversee the project. He had the experience, the knowledge, and the trust of the company's clients. But instead of choosing Alex, Daniel made a shocking decision. He brought in a rival company's executive, someone from outside the organization, to lead the initiative. This was Daniel's gamble. He believed that bringing in fresh blood, someone with a new perspective, would be the key to unlocking the company's future success. The decision came as a complete shock to Alex. He had been expecting to be promoted to the head of the project, as it was a role he felt he had earned. Instead, Daniel's decision to hire someone from outside felt like a betrayal. Alex had poured his heart and soul into the company, and now Daniel had taken a risk that left him on the sidelines. Alex was furious. He couldn't believe that Daniel, the person he had trusted most, would make such a decision without even consulting him. He had worked tirelessly for years, and now he was being cast aside for an outsider. The trust that had been the foundation of their relationship began to erode. Alex felt betrayed, his loyalty questioned, and his value to the company diminished. He wasn't the only one who was upset. Several of Alex's colleagues, who had seen his dedication firsthand, were also stunned by Daniel's choice. Whispers spread through the company, and morale began to falter. Alex had always been a leader, someone others looked up to. Now, the very person he had trusted most had made a decision that left him questioning his future with the company. But the anger wasn't just personal. It was professional. Alex knew that the new executive would take credit for successes Alex had long worked toward. Worse still, Alex feared that his value to the company would diminish and that Daniel's gamble would cost him his position. As days turned into weeks, Alex began to withdraw. He focused on his work, but the spark that had once driven him was gone. He was no longer the enthusiastic, engaged employee he had once been. The betrayal he felt from Daniel clouded his judgment and affected his relationships with his colleagues. He was losing the very thing that had made him successful, his passion for the company. It wasn't until a late-night conversation with one of his colleagues, Sarah, that Alex began to see the situation in a different light. Sarah had been with the company almost as long as Alex and had seen firsthand the risks Daniel had taken to grow the business. She reminded Alex that Daniel had always been a visionary, someone who saw opportunities others didn't. "Alex, I know this feels like a slap in the face, but think about it. Daniel is taking a huge risk because he believes in the company's future. He believes in you, too. This is his way of pushing the company forward. Maybe it's time for you to trust him again and see where this gamble leads." Sarah's words hit Alex harder than he expected. She was right. Daniel's decision, although painful, wasn't about him. It was about the company. Alex had always admired Daniel's boldness, his willingness to take risks for the greater good. Maybe this was just another chapter in the company's evolution, and Alex had to be part of it, regardless of how difficult it seemed. Slowly, Alex began to shift his mindset. He realized that holding on to his anger and resentment wasn't going to serve him or the company. If anything, it would only harm the progress they had made together. He had to step up, not as someone who was passed over, but as someone who could rise above it and continue contributing to the company's success. Alex decided to give the new executive a chance. He offered his help, sharing his knowledge and expertise with someone who was still learning the ropes. The project, under the new leadership, began to take shape. And slowly, Alex began to see that the gamble Daniel had taken was paying off. The company was moving in a new direction, one that would require everyone to be flexible, open-minded, and willing to embrace change. As the project progressed, Alex was reinvigorated. He saw that the gamble had created new opportunities for growth, not just for the company, but for him too. His role was evolving, and he had to adapt. Through his actions, Alex proved to Daniel and to himself that trust, even when it was broken, could be rebuilt. In the end, Daniel's gamble paid off. The project was a success, and the company grew stronger than ever. But more importantly, Alex realized that sometimes the biggest risks lead to the greatest rewards. He had learned to trust again, not just in Daniel, but in the company's vision. And, in doing so, Alex found a renewed sense of purpose and pride in his work. Daniel, for his part, had seen something in Alex that he hadn't realized before. A deep commitment to the company that went beyond personal success. He acknowledged Alex's resilience and, in a gesture of goodwill, offered him a new role within the company, one that would help him grow and lead in a new direction. Alex had learned that in business, trust is not given lightly, and it must be earned through actions, not just words. But with that trust, anything was possible. And in the end, it was that trust, rebuilt after the gamble, that helped both Alex and Daniel lead the company to even greater heights. When Daniel, the CEO, made the decision to bring in an outsider to lead the high-profile project, it wasn't just a professional risk, it was a personal one. For years, Alex had been his right-hand man, his most trusted employee. But in his quest to push the company forward, Daniel had unknowingly tested the very foundation of their relationship. Alex's trust had been shattered, and what was once a smooth partnership now seemed like a distant memory. The emotional toll of the gamble had begun to weigh on him. While he was still dedicated to his work, a sense of betrayal lingered, eating away at his confidence and morale. The uncertainty of his future at the company began to cloud his every decision. As weeks passed, Alex wrestled with his emotions. The project under the new executive's leadership was moving forward, but at what cost? Alex had to make a choice. Let his anger consume him, or rise above the challenge and prove to himself, and to Daniel, that he was more than just a reaction to a setback. It was a test of loyalty and resilience, one that would define not only Alex's career, but also the future of his relationship with Daniel. Loyalty is often seen as the cornerstone of any successful partnership, especially in the business world. It's the trust between colleagues, the unspoken bond that keeps teams together, and the force that drives individuals to go above and beyond. Alex had always been loyal to Daniel, believing in the company's vision and supporting Daniel's decisions, even when they were difficult. But now, for the first time in years, Alex felt like that loyalty had been thrown away. The decision to hire an outsider had shaken him to his core. He had always believed that loyalty was a two-way street, and yet Daniel's choice to bypass him for a role he had felt entitled to left him questioning everything. Was he truly valued, or was he simply another cog in the machine? Alex found himself replaying moments from the past, their late-night meetings, the celebrations of successful projects, the trust they had shared. All of it felt like a lie now. Was it possible for him to continue working for a company that had broken his trust so easily? But as much as the feelings of betrayal stung, Alex knew he couldn't afford to wallow in self-pity. His career and his reputation were on the line. The stakes were high, and the emotional toll was beginning to take a physical and mental toll on him. The stress of the situation was mounting, and Alex had to decide whether he would let the situation control him or if he would take control of it. It wasn't until a late-night conversation with his colleague Sarah that Alex began to see the situation from a different angle. Sarah had been with the company since its early days and had seen Daniel's leadership style evolve over time. She had watched him make bold decisions and take risks, sometimes to the detriment of those closest to him. But she also saw the bigger picture, the same vision that had propelled the company to its current heights. Alex, I get it. You're angry, and you have every right to be, but you have to ask yourself, is this about you and Daniel, or is it about the future of the company? Sarah said, her voice calm and understanding. Alex was taken aback. He had been so focused on his personal feelings of betrayal that he hadn't considered the bigger picture. Sarah continued, Daniel took a risk because he believes in the company's future. He saw an opportunity to bring in someone who could push the company to the next level, but that doesn't mean he doesn't value you. It means he trusts you enough to step aside and take a different approach. Maybe this is the time for you to grow in a new direction too. For the first time, Alex stopped and truly listened. Sarah wasn't just defending Daniel's decision. She was asking him to see it for what it was, a challenge, an opportunity for growth. Alex's anger was clouding his judgment, and he realized that he had been so focused on his feelings of betrayal that he hadn't considered the possibility that Daniel's gamble was a chance for him to evolve. With Sarah's words resonating in his mind, Alex decided to take a step back and reevaluate his approach. He stopped focusing on the things that had hurt him and instead concentrated on the work ahead. He wasn't going to let Daniel's decision define him. He was going to rise above it and prove that he was more than just a product of circumstances. Over the next few weeks, Alex threw himself into his work. He continued to contribute to the project, offering insights and solutions from the sidelines. While the new executive took the lead, Alex found himself helping the team in ways that went beyond his role. He wasn't just a bystander, he was becoming an essential part of the project's success. As the project progressed, Alex began to gain the respect of the new executive, who saw firsthand the depth of Alex's knowledge and experience. Slowly, their working relationship began to grow, and the outsider executive started to rely on Alex's expertise. This shift didn't go unnoticed. Alex wasn't just contributing, he was becoming the cornerstone of the project's success, even though he wasn't in charge. The experience taught Alex an invaluable lesson. His worth wasn't determined by his title or his position. His value came from his resilience, adaptability, and commitment. As he embraced his new role, Alex saw the bigger picture. He wasn't just working for Daniel or the company. He was working to prove to himself that his true potential wasn't tied to anyone's decisions, but his own. The final test. The CEO's reflection. It was during the final stages of the project that Daniel approached Alex. He had been watching from a distance, observing Alex's transformation. He had seen how Alex had stepped up, not just as an employee, but as a leader in his own right. The CEO realized that the gamble he had taken, though risky, had paid off, not just for the company, but for Alex as well. "Alex, I want to thank you. Your contribution to this project has been invaluable, and I can see how much you've grown. I made a tough decision, and I know it wasn't easy for you. But you've proven that you're not just a good employee, you're a great leader." Alex looked at Daniel, and for the first time in weeks, he smiled. He had proven, not just to Daniel, but to himself, that his worth wasn't defined by a title or a position. It was defined by his ability to adapt, lead, and rise above adversity. In the end, Daniel's gamble had led to a new chapter for both him and Alex. The company had grown stronger, the project had been a resounding success, and Alex had emerged as a leader, not because of his position, but because of his resilience and ability to adapt to change. The decision that once seemed like a betrayal had transformed Alex into someone even greater than he had been before. Daniel had taken a risk, but that risk had given Alex the opportunity to prove his true worth. And Alex, in turn, had learned that sometimes the most painful moments lead to the greatest growth. When Daniel made the decision to bring in an outsider to lead a major project, he had no idea how much it would impact his relationship with Alex. What started as a calculated risk soon became a turning point for both men. While the company's future was uncertain, one thing became clear. Alex was far more than just a loyal employee. He was a leader in his own right. And this decision, though painful, had forced both of them to confront their roles in the company, their relationship, and the way forward. As Alex continued to grapple with his emotions and the fallout from the CEO's gamble, he realized that true leadership was not about titles or positions. It was about resilience, adaptability, and the ability to inspire others, especially during times of adversity. Now Alex had a choice: continue to harbor feelings of betrayal or rise above and build something even greater, not just for himself, but for the company as a whole. This final chapter would be a test of both his personal growth and his commitment to the company that had once made him question everything. The first few weeks after the decision to bring in the new executive were tense. Alex had done his best to push forward and continue working, but the weight of his feelings had not gone unnoticed by his colleagues. Despite his efforts, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he had been sidelined. It was as though the foundation of everything he had built with Daniel had been shattered, and now he was trying to rebuild it from the ground up. But the more he reflected, the more Alex realized that this moment wasn't just about his pain. It was about the future of the company. The success of the project and the future direction of the company hinged on everyone working together. Alex couldn't afford to let his personal feelings cloud his professional judgment. If he truly wanted to grow, he had to let go of the past and focus on what lay ahead. With renewed clarity, Alex made the decision to approach the situation with a new mindset. He would set aside his grievances and focus on what he could do to contribute, regardless of the role he was playing. It wasn't about the recognition, it was about leading through action, proving that his value wasn't defined by a title, but by the impact he made. The new path. Working with the outsider. As Alex continued to work alongside the new executive, he began to see things from a different perspective. At first, there had been a sense of resentment. The new executive's arrival had been a blow to his ego, a challenge to his role in the company. But as time passed, Alex realized that this new leader wasn't the enemy. He was simply someone who brought a fresh set of eyes and a different approach. The executive, named Eric, was a seasoned leader from a rival company with a reputation for turning struggling companies around. Eric was sharp, strategic, and focused, but he lacked the intimate knowledge of the company's culture that Alex had. This was where Alex's knowledge and experience became invaluable. He knew the ins and outs of the company's operations, and he knew how to rally the team behind a common vision. Slowly, Alex and Eric began to work together, each complementing the other's strengths. It wasn't easy at first. There were moments of tension, times when their differing leadership styles clashed. But Alex realized that the key to success was not in fighting for control. It was in learning to collaborate, to take the best ideas from each other, and to build something greater than either of them could do alone. In this process, Alex began to see Eric as more than just an outsider. He was a leader with valuable experience, and together they could push the company to new heights. Alex wasn't just a manager anymore, he was a mentor, guiding Eric through the company's unique challenges while learning from Eric's fresh perspectives. Their relationship, once built on rivalry, was evolving into a partnership based on mutual respect and trust. Daniel, from his position at the helm, had been watching this transformation unfold. He had made the gamble with the hope that it would push the company to evolve. But what he hadn't expected was the profound growth it would spark in both Alex and Eric. Watching them work together, it became clear to Daniel that the future of the company wasn't about making the right decisions on paper. It was about fostering a culture of collaboration, where the strength of the team outweighed any individual. One day, as the team was wrapping up a major milestone on the project, Daniel called a meeting with Alex and Eric. There was a sense of anticipation in the air. This wasn't just any ordinary meeting. Daniel had seen the changes in both of them, and it was time to address it. "Alex, Eric," Daniel began, "I have to say, I've been impressed, not just with the results, but with the way both of you have handled this situation. Alex, you've shown resilience and leadership through some tough times. Eric, you've brought a fresh perspective to the table. Together, you've made this project a success." Alex, surprised by the praise, nodded. He had come a long way from the anger and betrayal he had felt at the beginning. His commitment to the company and to his own growth had allowed him to see the bigger picture. "I made a tough decision bringing Eric in, but what I see now is that my gamble wasn't just about taking a risk, it was about pushing all of us to grow. We've always been a company that embraces change, and it's clear that both of you have done just that." Daniel paused for a moment before continuing. "Moving forward, I want to make it official. I believe in what both of you bring to the table, and it's time to elevate you both. Alex, you've earned a leadership position that reflects your growth and your potential. Eric, I want you to continue leading this company alongside Alex. Together, you'll be the future of this business." Daniel's words were a turning point for both Alex and Eric. The gamble Daniel had taken, bringing in an outsider and challenging the status quo, had ultimately paid off in ways he couldn't have predicted. Not only had the company successfully completed the project, but it had also fostered a new level of collaboration and growth among its leaders. Alex had gone from feeling betrayed to embracing his role as a mentor and leader. He had learned that true leadership wasn't about controlling everything. It was about inspiring others and building something greater than yourself. Eric, who had once been seen as an outsider, had proven that his fresh perspective was exactly what the company needed. Together, they had become an unstoppable force. As the company moved forward, Daniel could finally see the results of his gamble. He had taken a risk, but it wasn't just about the company's future. It was about ensuring that the future of the company would be shaped by leaders who could adapt, collaborate, and grow together. In the end, the gamble wasn't just Daniel's. It was the company's, and together they had all won.